everyone, Logan Clements here, freelance event producer, and today I'm so excited to come to you with my latest installment and my favorite tips and tricks when it comes to event planning and running your own business. This week, we're going to tackle a big question that I get from clients. I've been finding that most people are confused about whether they should decide on the format of the event first, or if they should decide the technology and the platform they're going to use first. And so I say it's a chicken and the egg because you can kind of put one in front of the other, or it's hard to decide one without the other, and they are so closely entwined. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to tackle explaining the difference between the two and the priorities that I set with my clients when I'm helping them plan their virtual event, and hopefully that will add some clarity to your event planning process. So stick around. Before we get into it, I do want to remind you to like below, dislike, comment, talk to me about what kind of virtual events you're planning. Hit subscribe, turn on the notification bell so you get notified every single Monday when I drop new videos. And with that, we're going to get right back into the content. So to get started, I do want to kind of set the scene. I realize now that maybe not everyone understands why this is a chicken and the egg of the two conundrums I see you come up with when you're planning a virtual event. Most people know the format they want to do because they've done it in person, but they don't really fully understand the event technology that is out there for producing a virtual event. Other people get really hung up on all the beautiful things they've seen and all the snazzy ads for all these brand new event platforms, but they really haven't thought about how that plays in with the format of their event. And so I've worked with clients before as they've talked through this process of saying, Logan, what do we choose? We can keep the format flexible until we decide what platform we want to use. But if we decide what platform we want to use, are we going to make sure that we're using all of the capabilities and functions? The best way that I like to think about virtual event technology, and I've talked about this in other videos and I'll link to them below when I've reviewed some other virtual events I've been to, you really need to think about your virtual event platform like a venue. So just like a venue, there's going to be positives and negatives about every platform out there. There's going to be way too many out there, just like when you're looking at in-person events. There's always new ones. There's always ones that are well established and well booked up. As a planner, I also find that I get drawn to the venues in person that I've worked with frequently. And I'm finding that happens the same when I'm doing virtual events. And so when you think about the virtual event platform like your venue, you need to be asking similar questions that you ask of your venue. Whether it's talking about capacity, which in the virtual world is way more than it was in person, but you still will find that some virtual event platforms will quote you for saying, 500 people, it's going to be this much. But you do want to ask, okay, well, what if it's up to 1,000? What if it's up to 1,500? And I found some platforms have some like little sneaky fees that they'll add in later on. So these are questions you do need to bring up. Similar to also with a venue, you want to know, will they have an event manager? A venue event manager. Even though they're giving you this platform, you're accessing it from your home, there probably will be things that you don't know what they do, or problems that come up with a speaker that maybe you don't know how to troubleshoot on this new virtual event platform. And so you want to know that they'll have staff there who can help assist and answer your question. And then one of the interesting things that I've seen pop up with virtual event platforms is there's a difference between your virtual event platform and your streaming provider. So let me say that again. There's a difference between your virtual event platform and your streaming provider. The big one that's going around now, and I know I've worked a lot with recently, has been Zoom. So Zoom, it could be your streaming platform and your virtual event platform, but I'm seeing some of these other virtual event platforms out there that are more robust and have like digital tables that you can go and visit sponsors. They have little one-on-one meeting rooms you can set up virtually. That's in a virtual event platform, but often those platforms are using Zoom for their streaming, or they're using Vimeo, or they're using YouTube. They're hosting it on their site. They're not paying for it. It is not included when you are paying the large amount of money that you're paying for this virtual event platform, which, similar to in-person venues, I've found with virtual venues that the variety of pricing is really large. There are ones that will say they're free and then they have all these little add-ons and secret charges. Others that will be a huge cost, but it's all inclusive. And then there's a bunch that are there in the middle to kind of help you play with your budget. So there's one nonprofit that I'm working with, and we're using a virtual auction platform. And that auction platform used to be the one we used for their registration in previous years. And now they've built out their virtual, silent, and live auction capabilities and are still offering it for a low cost. Now, that low cost being about $200 for the month of their event. Now, that does not include the streaming platform. That is just the virtual event platform. They have capabilities where we could embed a YouTube link, we can embed a Vimeo link, we can embed a Zoom link, but it's not included in that fee, nor do they have the people who are going to do that for you. I'm also working with another nonprofit with a much bigger budget that's trying to do more of a fair where they want to have sponsors and tables and things, and they're paying almost, they could be paying upward in the tens of thousands of dollars for a platform. And that platform's more built out and robust, but still the same thing. It doesn't include the streaming software. They will have their recommendations. They have vendors you could pay to help you run it, but it doesn't include it. And so the way I've been then thinking about your streaming platform is like an AV company. So there are certain venues that you would go and look at, and they have their audio visual is included. So they'll have their team that runs their system. They have things that are built out. And then there's other places you go to and they say, we have no AV, we have no one who runs it. If you want any video or audio or microphones or sound display, anything, you need to bring them in from the outside. And I'm finding that trend actually continues in the virtual sphere, which I personally find really interesting because I would have thought that more people would be looking for this like all-in-one solution. And there are platforms out there right now that are touting themselves as all-in-one, but they really aren't. They are all-in-one from the event platform side, but they are not including the streaming. This was one of my big takeaways, and when I'm talking with my clients about this, I've learned there's that difference. So thinking about your virtual event platform, what will host your virtual event, that is your venue. And then if you're looking at your streaming platform more as your AV partner. So this is who's going to be your audio, visual, your tech people. As I've been talking about your virtual event platform versus your streaming partner, I realize with every event, you're not going to have the same needs. So I found with the much larger events, meaning they have multiple speaker sessions going on at the same time, they want to have sponsor virtual booths that people can visit and actually talk with the sponsors. They need that more robust setup, that very built out virtual event platform and the streaming partner. Now, other groups I've been with, we've done like a happy hour or a virtual lecture, as well as then doing a social hour, and Zoom can be both of those things. Zoom, you do not need a virtual event platform in addition to the streaming partner because all of your content is streaming focused. And so this is where it comes back to that if you get so hung up on you have to use certain platforms, then that's gonna shape your format. And sometimes you're going to end up overpaying for things you don't actually use. So it is much better, like you do in person, to have an event format set and then move to figuring out what technology best fits you. So now that I've talked a little bit more about what's a virtual event platform versus a streaming partner, again, that analogy of venue versus AV vendor, I'm going to go back to what I opened up with of that chicken and the egg scenario, where I've been having clients who say, do we need to figure out what technology we use before we figure out what the event looks like? You should really know what format you want. You should know what you want from your virtual venue. You should know that so that when you go in, you know exactly what you're trying to get, you know the right questions to ask, and you make sure that you're getting everything that you want and you're not overpaying for things you won't use. Similar to in person, maybe there's a beautiful venue and you're an organizer and you're like, all right, I'm going to do whatever to make an event happen in this gorgeous venue. Cool. But that, as a planner, is like 1% of the projects that I've worked on. More often than not, we're coming into a venue saying, here's our vision for this event. Let's work with you as the venue to see how we can make that happen and what we need to bring in outside of what you provide. What you don't want to have is paying for all these bells and whistles of these virtual event platforms that you don't actually use. And one thing I'm finding with some of these virtual event vendors is that they've outsourced or bought this platform software, this technology, off of someone else, and then they've put their branding all over it, which is great and fine. But then you realize you're kind of dealing with this middleman now where they didn't build the platform and they don't totally fully understand all the functionalities of it because they bought it from someone else. And so if you as the client are coming in and asking questions, I found the easiest way to figure out if they actually build it themselves is there's questions they can't answer because they had someone else build it for them. And so my one big takeaway from this video for you is just to be diligent and do your research when it comes to picking virtual event platforms. I stick with my argument from before that you should really decide on your format, maybe have some flexibility. I know some people have said, oh, but if the technology can do this, I want to do that. But if they don't, I can't, I won't do that. That's okay. And that's fine to have these ideas. And this is where I think the burden falls a little bit more on that event technology platform because this is what you're paying for. You're paying for them to kind of help educate you on their platform. And if they start being unable to answer some of your questions about how their platform works, what buttons do what, certain things, to me, that's a red flag. And there are much better ways that you can either do it yourself and DIY it with building out your own website and embedding Zoom links, or there are great vendors out there. You just need to know where to look. I don't know about you guys, but in the event industry, I found like I'm getting pitched or emailed about a new event platform all the time, and I found that the ones that really are seeming to hit all the boxes when it comes to virtual events, whether it's from a pricing perspective or a capacity perspective, they are diamonds in the rough. Just again, I love to kind of over deliver, so I will share for me what I've been working with on the virtual event platform and streaming side. I just came off a really big event last week that was run entirely through Zoom. The entire event team was remote, all the speakers were remote. It was amazing. And so you definitely have these capabilities that you can make the most of some of the tech that's out there. And Zoom is one of those where it is pretty affordable, but I will say they do have add-ons if you want to have a lot of people attending to your stream. But I've been seeing some really cool things that some engineers and streaming engineers and technology guys are able to use Zoom feeds and push that feed somewhere else. So your Zoom more acts as your backstage, and then it's getting pushed out via like YouTube or Facebook Live or embedded in your website. If I was an event organizer and investing my funds, I would really invest in having a strong streaming manager or technology manager, or someone like myself who can come in and kind of help consult or bring in those people if it's something that's above my technology understanding. But that is really the key part, because that person can help you drive and make strategic decisions about what you can and can't do for your virtual event, versus virtual event platform where they might educate you kind of on what you can do, but they might not, and they might not go above and beyond of telling you all the capabilities because they just want to make sure that you've paid the high price tag. And my other add-on that I love, and I will link to both of these below with Zoom and then also StreamYard. This is a great fit if you are a solo event person, or you work at a company or an organization and you were the only person who produces the events. You don't need a technology manager to manage your stream through StreamYard. So think of StreamYard as a very basic video editing tool to produce live streams. And so it allows you to mix up your view of how many speakers are on screen. So you could have one person showing, you could have 3 people showing, you could have 4, 2, just the slides, slide in a face. You can put lower thirds, you can pull up comments that people post on Facebook, all with the touch of a button. And so I really recommend it if you are someone who is trying to either produce an event by yourself or produce with a very small group. I want to say it's a nominal fee of $25, $30 for a month of your event. We're going to be using it. I'm going to be using it for an event with a client in the next couple weeks, and really looking forward to it because I think it just elevates your presentation to people who are watching and gets away from that Zoom feeling of a Zoom meeting. You know, and I just praise Zoom a bunch, and that's where I say I praise Zoom, but with the help of people who understand the technology and can make it look good. But if you don't, it's going to feel like a Zoom meeting. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm feeling a little zoomed out right now. And so if I just see like 10 boxes of faces, it's not as entertaining, versus having to think about these virtual events like it's a TV production. And so you have to have variety. You have to have some dynamic live entertainment options. You want to play with some recorded stuff as well. You don't want it to just be one speaker on screen all the time. You want to play around with that. And I find that StreamYard is one of those tools that's really helpful. So I'm going to talk more about some of my favorite virtual streaming and event platform tools later on in another video. But I did just want to tackle that initial question that I always feel like I'm getting these days about, do you choose the format of your event first, or do you choose the technology? And I will say, until the dogs come home, pick your format, be flexible, be open to some of the cool things you can do with virtual event technology these days. But at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you're getting everything you need and you're not paying for anything that you don't. So coming in with a clear vision for your event is going to set you up for success. And that's all I have for y'all. I hope that was helpful. I know this is a question that I've been thinking about a lot when I've been talking with people, because I will also say I'm a convert a little bit from where I used to think that the technology was the first thing you do and then the format. But now putting it in that analogy of your virtual event platform is your venue, your streaming technology is your AV partner. I hope that helps you as an event person really just kind of picture more of that relationship. Once again, I'm Logan Clements. I'm a freelance event producer, and I had so much fun talking to you guys about my favorite event tips and tricks and running my own business. I hope this was helpful, and I look forward to seeing you guys next Monday. Bye!